it adds that element to the pipeline automatically, or a stage in the pipeline into the CI, YAML file without anyone doing all of this manual configuration. That to me feels like a much better, that to me feels like a much better user experience than sort of doing all this copying and pasting, particularly when we know all of this information, right? From the perspective of the application and its configuration.
Is this in regards to the pipeline only, or is it when we're publishing from the terminal?
I think it's more about the pipeline. So the two elements of the demonstration that Steve did, which I thought was great. I'm not even trying to cause drama here with the presentation or anything, but it was more around the idea of like, okay, so I need to set up my NPM RC. I think we could have a template for that, which I think we've been working on. Like, okay, because we have templates for readme.md and a couple of other things in projects, you turn on your package, it'd be really, your package support would be really cool to be like, add my NPM RC for my whatever, right? Maybe then I have to go in and that's where the template comes from. Maybe it's a project template because we have support for project templates right now already. But I was talking more in terms of just the pipeline auto updating side of that demonstration that Steve just ran. Being able to sort of go, I just want to auto update this package whenever I do whatever. Boop, done. And that extra step in the CI just didn't seem super necessary to have a human doing it. That's all I'm kind of getting at. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. Thank you. Makes sense.
Since we're talking about this, Steve, wasn't there a block of code too? There was like an if statement there that was basically checking for the existence of the NPM-RC, and then it was just echoing out some variables into the NPM-RC, so you could exclude that from source control?
Let me double check here.
I can answer that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what was happening. Yeah. Sarah, you can go ahead.
Basically, it's because they're not going to be pushing their NPM-RC, and because it's a template, if they don't have it, it generates it immediately if it already exists or if it's already been cached.
Cool. And so it was, okay, cool. And it was just echoing it out. So basically, it was just creating the file, right? So I do similar things if I'm publishing to GCP or something or App Engine, and I need to create a YAML file of some sort. Just when Daniel was talking, it got my wheels turning. That could be super cool too, just with environment, those CI variables, like have a box there that's like, I'll put this to your NPM-RC. Daniel, I don't know if that's what you were referring to as well, sorry.
You got to noodling, didn't you?
I did, I was noodling over here about that, yes. Thanks for saying that on video.
I think, I forget, do we have the capability of calling external files in a .rc file in NPM-RC? Does that even work?
I don't know.
For example, you can source, in my bash RC, right? I can source external files in my bash RC.
Yeah.
Because that might be it. I don't know, because that'd be kind of cool, right? Because then you just create the separate and the NPM configuration stuff, which is pretty static, right? You source the external file. I don't know if that's possible. It just occurs to me because the reason we can't just auto-populate it is because they might have other stuff in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you mean that the idea would be to read the actual NPM-RC and then generate a new one based on that? Or I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, so we have an if statement to avoid overriding an existing NPM-RC, right? Or is it just to check that it's there?
To check that it exists. If it doesn't exist, then we're not going to create a new one.
Wait, say that again. If it doesn't exist, we're not going to create a new one?
So wait, now I'm confused. So if there is an NPM-RC, you broke my brain. If there is an NPM-RC, then we are not creating. I don't think that's possible,
Sarah. You don't seem like the type to get a broken brain very easily.
Challenge accepted. We're going to be working on this now. Thank you. So if we have an NPM-RC already, then there's no need to create one.
Right.
But
if there is an NPM-RC, we don't populate anything into the file. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you want to just pull the NPM-RC up that you just had, Steve, so we can have a look?
And so, like, I think the thing about this is also there's so many ways you could kind of go about this. Like, I would think at a place where you're doing purely private repositories and whatnot, it's very likely they might just push this npm-rc with the tokens into the repo. Or at some other places, they might push the npm-rc with an environment variable instead of the token, and then any oncoming developers would get given that variable when they're setting up locally, and then within the CI, we could have something that grabs this file and populates that single value rather than generating the whole file. There's a lot of different paths that you could take with this type of configuration, but I do agree that, like, if I'm a new JavaScript developer and have no idea what I'm doing, it would be really cool to just be able to, like, say, I want to make a package out of my app, and then click a button and it will just auto do this for me because I don't really necessarily know what that is yet or how to do it.
Can you click on the GitLab CI YAML, please?
Yes.
So if the npm-rc exists, then do a thing. Oh no, if it doesn't exist, I'm sorry, there's that exclamation mark in there. There's a couple of edge cases here, right? If I have an npm-rc set up already because I have some other registry, or if I'm adding a new root because I have multiple routes that I'm referring to already, because that's possible, this won't update anything. So there's a couple of edge cases here that I know are edge cases, so I'm not like trying to say we've done a bad job or whatever, but there's just a couple of edge cases here where it's like, I wonder how we sort of work around this, because I can see as people start adopting this methodology, they could end up with some sort of like overlapping stuff. But I think for the most part, what I'm looking, what the general concept of what I'm calling out, and you can stop sharing your screen if you want, Steve. I think everyone's seen it. The general idea of what I'm calling out is that there's, anytime we copy and paste a thing, it's just something that jumps in my head really quick is to say, if we're just copying and pasting, do I need a human to do this? And the answer is generally no, right? It's the same with any coding problem. If you're copying and pasting, the computer can do that. It doesn't need your help to do it. So how do we then move towards a direction where we don't have to have this manual intervention, when in fact the copy and paste is the very minimal manual intervention a human can have, right? So we're still making use of the intelligence of the people that are involved. Again, I know we've kind of dug into this a little deep, and I don't want to like carry on too much about it. But that's the idea, the concept here is to sort of, how do we iterate on this to turn it into a process that really just supports what people are doing rather than make them jump through hoops and stuff. And this is a wonderful start. I don't mean to trivialize the effort that's gone into this, because I know, Sarah, you've worked on a lot. I know, Steve, you've worked on a lot too. So not to suggest that at all. This is a great starting point, but where do we go next? And let's all start thinking about it.
And I wonder if we can extend that thinking beyond NPM to Maven and Conan and container registries as well, is just follow, it's one process, and we are going to optimize this process for GitLab.
100%.
Okay.
You have something, John?
Oh, I wanted to say something when everybody was done. That's all.
Has there been any talk of like integration of the like package CI into auto DevOps? Because certainly all of these problems would have to get solved in order to have that just be like a flip the switch and then it figures out, this is a Maven package, let's just build it. This is a NPM package, let's just build it. I don't know if that discussion has come up anywhere yet.
We have an issue for it somewhere, but we haven't realistically talked about it at all. But okay. There are some issues for it.
Yeah, I think the strategy would be to look to sort of similar processes that we use for other parts of our pipeline. And when we say we want to, when we set up auto DevOps, what does auto DevOps mean? What part of that is automatic, and how can we look at that model as a way to sort of work as a goal to work towards for how we're building our NPM, Maven, Conan, et cetera, packages, right? Again, it's all copy and pasted. Maybe a prereq for having that work is we have to have set the environment variables as you demonstrated Steve, with the OAuth token and with the personal access token. Obviously, those things might change because I think we're going to combine the two here at some point. But maybe that's a required step. That's fine. We can have required steps that people have to do, but then everything else is just a copy and paste anyway. Project ID, we know what it is. The root, we know what it is. Although with your change of allowing different root, maybe that's different, but maybe just to say standard root is the name of the actual group or the repo it's in or whatever it is, and then you can customize it if you want. But again, just sort of thinking in those terms. Joran?
Yes, if everybody's done, my thing is completely not related, kind of related, but I just wanted to say how cool it was coming from a Node and React background to completely, I was nerding out knowing that we were talking to NPM folks. So just wanted to say that was pretty cool. So thanks.
I agree.
Oh, John, I got some stickers for you then.
What's that?
I got stickers for you if you're a
What?
Node and React. Yeah.
I guess. Here is my my latest Node sticker. I can send you one. Yeah, let's do a trade. Awesome. Like I feel like I'm 12 again, like trading cards. I know. Oh my gosh, so excited. All right, cool. Coffee chat.
That's awesome. Maybe I should try and send them some GitLab shirts after today. Maybe we can get someone from marketing to send them some stickers or shirts.
It seemed like they needed NPM shirts more than GitLab shirts.
Yeah, it's true.
Tim, barter us all NPM shirts, please. That would be amazing.
I'll work on it.
That would be absolutely legendary to go into the next meeting and we all have NPM shirts on instead of.
Yes.
That would blow their minds.
That would be awesome.
Well,
great team.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I'll talk to you later. Thanks so much for your help. Bye.